Welcome back to the High Path channel. Today we're making bread, lasagna, and all things delicious. Let's go. You gotta stand tall. We hope everyone had a great family gathering and turkey day. I know a lot of you know that we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. However, we are still here in the kitchen, still cooking up foods that we love to eat. So today we are going to just take you along while we cook in the kitchen. Here is another Cook With Me video. Let's start with baking some bread. Now, I typically like to prep more than one loaf of bread, but today I ended up just making one. So in this warm water, I am going to add some yeast, some sugar, just so that we can bloom the yeast a little bit. And we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes until it kind of activates. Now, ever since we made that cashew butter in the last video, I love making bread because bread and butter is just one of those things that everyone loves, right? It's just something about bread and butter. And turning vegan, we have not had the opportunity to have any bread and butter. So once we discovered cashew butter, this changes the game. I am making a very easy bread recipe here. I just added some flour. This is just organic spelt that we milled ourselves using our Blendtec blender. You can of course use a grain mill if you have one. We added the yeast and water mixture and also some olive oil, and we're just going to let the machine do its thing, knead it for about 5-10 minutes until it stretches the dough a little bit and develops all the gluten in there. Meantime, I am going to prepare some onions for our spaghetti sauce. Really, we're going to make a lasagna, so this is just a red sauce base. We usually use lentils in replacement of meat when we're making a red sauce. And so we start off with some olive oil in a pot here. We're going to heat it up at about, I would say, I typically go high just to get things going, and then I'll turn it down later. So I have some onions going in. I also have prepped a whole glassware of chopped celery and carrots just because we use this in most of our cooking, like our chili or spaghetti sauce or soups, anything like that. So it's great to just have a bunch chopped. Chopping all this really does save time. And on the side, I also have some lentils, red lentils, which we soaked overnight and we just cooked in a boiling pot of water until it's done. While all the vegetables are just sweating a little bit in the olive oil, I'm going to check on the bread. It looks like it is done and kneaded, so I'm just going to toss it in some olive oil just so it doesn't stick on the mixing bowl here. So I just drizzled it a little bit. I'm going to unhook the piece of dough, and then all I do is I'm just going to roll the dough in this olive oil, add some olive oil if needed, and I'm just gonna pull it until it doesn't stick and create this big old ball of dough. Oh, I love playing with dough, don't you? It's one of those things you don't grow out of. Anyway, we are going to cover this with a plate, and then we're just going to put this in a warm oven. Really, I just have it on proof or warm setting on my oven. I'm just gonna let that sit for about an hour or so. Alrighty, the vegetables are nice and sweated, and we're going to just season it with some onion seasoning, some oregano. I also added some fennel seeds just for a little bit of anisey flavors, some Montreal seasoning. This actually really adds some delicious flavors to the spaghetti. And then of course just the rest of the cooked lentils. This is going to act as our meat in our spaghetti sauce, and oh my gosh, when you make this, it really does have a texture of meat. I don't know what it is. I actually prefer to undercook the lentils just a little bit. I know the pot of lentils were a little overcooked, but there was some leftover lentils that I had in a Tupperware that was not so cooked. So if you're gonna make this, I suggest just undercooking the lentils a little bit before you put it into the spaghetti sauce. Now I have added some canned crushed tomatoes, organic of course, and we are going to add just a little bit of water. You can season this to taste if needed, of course. Add any other seasonings you like. Add wine if you have it. Oh, I love a good red wine in this. And I have just added some all-purpose seasonings, which I have made myself. We are going to cover this and simmer away. So we are going to make a cheese sauce out of cauliflower and squash for our lasagna. So the last time we did this on our previous video, I chose too small of a head of a cauliflower, and that did not make enough sauce. So I chose the biggest cauliflower head that I have. I have two packages of frozen butternut squash. I really can't stand cutting up my own butternut squash, so I opted for frozen because, I mean, man, those squashes are so hard to cut, and I always have to have Trey help me. Let me know if you have a trick on cutting butternut squash and like shaving the skin off of it. It's just too much. Anyway, after just going to stir up my sauce and just checking on the bread, I am going to prep a batch of chocolate chip cookie dough. Right now, I am on a mission to create the best High Path family approved chocolate chip cookie that is vegan, very simple ingredients, and made of organic spelt flour. So bear with me as we work out this recipe together. I started off with some melted coconut oil, and then I added some coconut sugar. I let this whip up, and I also prepared a flax egg. Actually, it was 4 flax eggs here. As you can see, I needed to plug in the machine. That would be helpful. So once the coconut sugar and the coconut oil has been mixed, I just added the flax eggs here. I love this part because it looks so delicious, and it really is delicious. I did not film putting in our flour, but I am now putting in some chocolate chips. Of course, I'm not going to measure this. You cannot measure chocolate chips, okay? Just put however much chocolate chips you want. If you want everything to be completely filled with chocolate chips, go at it. If you want just a little bit of chocolate chips, put as little as you want. I actually forgot to put the baking soda in, so I am adding a little bit here. I should have measured it. I didn't. And then a little bit of salt. I find that the salt really adds some delicious flavor to cookies, so I love adding salt to our cookie dough. Alrighty, I am going to mix this by hand. I didn't want to over mix it, and then I'm just going to chill it in the fridge as I preheat the oven. I'm going to do a quick check on this sauce for the lasagna. It's almost there. I'm going to be draining this and then blending it up in a little bit, and I'm just checking on the spaghetti sauce as well just to see how it is cooking, and it's looking fantastic as well. I love making this sauce out of cauliflower. It is so quick to make, so easy, so full of vegetables. We're going to drain it a little bit, and today I opted for hand blending it with a submergent blender. I believe that's what it's called. Correct me in the comments if you know what this thing is called. And then I just added nutritional yeast. We added some salt, some apple cider vinegar just for some tang. You can add some lemon juice if you would like, and of course some olive oil just to give it a little bit of that oiliness that comes from using regular cheese. Typically we don't measure, we really just cook. We're going to taste for saltiness, for whatever taste that we are looking for. We can add more if needed. So here I'm just adding a little bit more nutritional yeast. It's actually great and very high in B12 vitamins. So if you are looking for some B12 vitamins and you are a plant-based person, definitely try out some nutritional yeast in your foods. And it's looking like I approve of this sauce, so we're all good to go. Let's check up on the bread or the bread dough. I'm just going to take it out of the oven, and if it is ready, we're just going to punch it down. I'm using our favorite loaf pan. I'm going to oil it with some coconut oil, and as you can see, the dough has definitely doubled in size. I love this part so much. It is so fun to punch the dough down. It is so poofy and so soft. I love touching dough. It's just so fun. I'm going to roughly shape this now. I'm pretty sure there is a better way to do this, or a more refined way, but we're just going to do it my way because I'm just here to cook. So we are folding the dough on itself a few times, and we're just going to put it into this loaf pan. The dough is going to be sitting in this loaf pan for about another hour or so, or maybe I would say maybe 30 minutes. Just check up on it. We're going to let it rise a second time until it's nice and poofy and ready to bake in the oven. Let's set up our station for some lasagna making. So I have a 13 by, no, I believe this is actually 10 by 13 or something very large like this. At this time, all the kids came home after playing outside, and here is where I made a mistake. I was gonna cut down some time purchasing these oven-ready Barilla pasta sheets. These are just like, you don't have to boil or anything like that. It's like no boil noodles. However, if you are a plant-based or vegan, know that this brand and this particular lasagna noodle has eggs in it. We didn't realize until later after we've made all of them, and it was too late.
Mama, why don't they have those loopy loop things?
Because
Like that.
this one is different.
Why'd you buy a different one?
Because this one I don't have to boil.
You have to boil the other one?
Yeah, so this one, guess what? We just put it in the oven and then we just bake.
Mama, you didn't buy enough for 3 whole batches.
Why?
Cause this won't even make enough for all of this, I think.
We shall see, Isaiah.
We shall see, Mama.
Isaiah and I just continued to make these lasagnas out of non-vegan lasagna sheets. We were thinking we're just going to eat it. It's not the first time that we've had eggs before, so we just continued making them. We did eat or use 2 boxes to make the rest of the lasagnas, and then we just gave our neighbors the other 2 boxes. I'm sure you guys know how to make or know how to layer lasagna, but typically we just start with the red sauce, a layer of the pasta noodles, some of the cheese sauce and the meat sauce, and then we're just going to put another layer of the pasta, and then so on and so forth. You repeat it. While Isaiah is making the rest of the lasagna, I just started prepping for some lunches, and I also wanted to check on the cookies. Now, these cookies, they definitely spread a little bit too much, and as you can see, the bread is already ready and proofed. Look how beautiful. We are going to put this in the oven really soon. Lasagna is so easy to make. Even our 5-year-old can make it, so I've tasked him to make his very own tray of lasagna. I have preheated the oven to 425. I'm going to put this in for about 35 minutes. Now I'm going to lower the temperature down to 375 halfway through the cooking. I am here now just finishing up making the cookies. Now I've realized, like I said, I think we just put too much oil in this batch. So like I said, I'm going to perfect it, and I am going to have a recipe coming soon. And voila, Isaiah's pan of lasagna, his very own. He made this all by himself. Once the cookies were baked, this is how it looked like. I definitely need to perfect this a little bit better, and this is how the bread looked. I am going to brush it with some olive oil just to keep the tops a little bit moister, because I don't want it to be dry when we cut into it. And this is our lunch. We had a pan of our lasagna. We also made a salad for everybody here, so I just had everyone serve up their own plate. And then here is what the bread looks like. This is going to be a delicious lunch. I wanted to see what it would be like to refrigerate the cookie dough overnight, and this is what it looked like after refrigerating it overnight and baking it. It came out a little bit better, not as great as I would have hoped, but if you do like a really thin cookie, this is for you. So I'm gonna work on this further, and I will post a recipe very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you loved this video and spending time with me in the kitchen. Please subscribe, and we would love to see you on the next video. Bye guys.